Yes, we're back at Skydive City and the Golden Knights are on today. Jesse Stahler, just a little conversation here with Schmidty. Hey Gary, you're coaching the Golden Knights now?
Yeah. I'm arranging golf. Arranging the tee time for the golf.
Okay, so you're already done for today.
Yes, we are finished.
And they're still running, so I guess they're still on back-to-backs.
Yes, they make one more for 12, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the 11th job.
Yeah, still running going on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so you can call you.
Hi, Du.
Sky League in
Golden
the
Knights.
house.
Yes, sir.
How are you? Nice shirt. I like that. That's good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, get one of those.
So you have one more to go, huh?
One more.
Okay.
One more. Good day.
Yeah. Beautiful day again. How's it going so far?
Pretty well. Very well. We're just finishing up our review of the blocks. So we're just doing, it's really our first training jump since Nationals. So just kind of like a block review, some random work stuff.
Yeah, and you and Jennifer and Jesse, you're gonna tell us some of your secrets later, right?
I think so.
Yeah, okay.
I guess you're gonna tell the secrets. I'm calling them the architects.
There comes the rest of the gang for the last training jump today. Yeah.
Small nose. Keep on heading to the O.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are on record here again, and obviously we are in a new NSL TV studio where we have been regularly these days in the microtel in the Zephyr Hills, and I'm surrounded by 8-way and 4-way world champions, and I'm very happy that you took the time, Andrew, Starr, Jennifer, Davidson, Jesse Stahler. Let's go just around like this way. Quick summary of your 8-way world champion career, Jesse.
2014, I was in outside rear. 2016, inside rear, and then 2018. Man, did I get that wrong? Tail, 2016, 2018, inside rear. That's my 8-way experience.
Jennifer, with Jennifer we have actually more than only 8-way world champions, you know, so give us a little quick summary.
Yeah, I was on GKF4 for 6 years from 2011 to 2016, which culminated in the gold in Chicago at the World Meet. And after that, I ended up moving over to the 8-way team to join those guys, and we won the World Championship in 18 in Australia there, and now we're just continuing training with a little bit of a new lineup, so a bit of a rebuild, but it's been a good time.
New lineup, new team captain, Andrew Starr, but we have people know you by now.
I'm not sure how.
We've spoken already a lot, and your career is a little bit. You have the longest Golden Knights career here.
I took the long road here too, but Yeah, 2010, I started with the 8-way team as a videographer. We won our first World Meet 2012. And then 14, I was the alternate and got into slot in 2015 for that World Air Games, World Meet, and after the World Meet 2018 in Australia, Sean passed the team off to me, and we've been working towards rebuilding back to World Championship gold ever since.
Yeah. Where is Excalibur right now?
It's still in the Golden Knight Museum. We got it for a little while still, but we're proud of XB8, and we're going to hand that off to them when they head to Russia with the intent of bringing it back home. It might just shift a few miles down the road over to Rayford, but we'd like to see it back in the States.
So you can bring it actually directly to Russia because you're going to Russia.
I am, yeah. I'm going to pass it up to XP though, because that thing's heavy, and I'm going to let them do the excess baggage on that thing.
Okay. Well, we are here for a good reason. You're training with a new lineup at Skydive City. And how's training going so far, Jen?
Pretty good. We had a couple days of weather last week, high winds, low clouds, stuff like that. But we still showed up and we got a lot of stuff done on the ground. And I think approaching training that way and always doing what we can when we can do it, it's going to pay off in the long run. So we're just going to do what we can when we can.
Not in a hurry. Jesse, you have a new plan, I hear. The reason is also not only, it's always fun to talk to you guys and watch you doing your stuff, but the approach to 8-way training and to 4-way 8-way training, everything has changed a bit, and I hear that the two of you are kind of carrying a new ideas and new thoughts and new plans. Drew said that into the, what is it? Give us a little idea of it.
Well, I wouldn't say it's new. I would say we've learned it from the sport and from competitors. There's a lot of information out there just with the way 4-way's gone in the last 10 years and teams being able to break those barriers time and time again. And we kind of looked at what we had after nationals and we said, okay, well, half the team, it's fair to say, is pretty new to the sport. The Golden Knight career doesn't necessarily build competitors. We kind of have to take good skydivers and shift them into that lineage. I mean, we have to show them the road. So we kind of start farther back than maybe most civilian teams would be. So we felt one of the quickest ways that we could get people to a higher average, just in general, that pace, is to get them moving through 4-way, because it's much quicker, obviously, to get 4 bodies moving that fast than 8 bodies. And we're always looking at the timetable of careers and how long we have everybody. So we said, okay, well, in 2 years, how good can we make the average skydiver on the Golden Knights? So we're developing, and we brought Starr Williams in for some advice. How can we develop the 4-way, not only technique, but the body flight aspect, the slow body flight, the high boost and airspeed, and other high-level teams in 4-way are using, just to allow that tool belt to extend, so to speak, so that our newer flyers and our older flyers, I mean, we're learning as much as they are really at this point. But so that way, when you're going fast in a way, you have all the tools you need to continue, right? And you're not moving into things with too much energy and so on and so forth. So we are trying to mitigate as much of that learning curve as we can through other means. It's not necessarily grinding out 8-way, draws daily. That becomes kind of soul crushing, eventually. So we're just trying to balance both worlds. And then we also looked at our schedule. We're traditionally a full-time Monday through Friday training team, and traditionally a lot of drills, which is good for a lot of reasons, but we felt like we could be more strategic in the time that we have by being more well-rounded, right, in a lot of respects. So today, actually, it's interesting to be talking to you. We actually felt the fruits of this labor, and we had a few jumps where it was like being back with our old team, in 2016 and 18. There were signs of it, at least. It was quiet, things were small and efficient, and I think it was maybe the 38th jump, 40 jumps since we've been here. There hasn't been that many jumps, so we're already seeing some signs that this may be working, so pretty happy so far.
So how do you split it up practically? How many are you doing one-on-one individual skills training and then some 4-ways and then some 8-way, and then what kind of proportion is that happening?
We started the year off with a week camp with Sully. We did a lot of individual flying with him. We did a lot of four-way, and we kind of looked at the past and how so with my history coming from 22 plus average in four-way, when I moved over to the eight-way team, I didn't know eight-way, but because my mental skill, like I was used to going faster, so I had a lot of room, I had a lot of bandwidth in my brain to learn eight-way because the speed wasn't getting to me. So we were looking at how we could use that approach to help the guys get a little more mental capacity for the speed that we're eventually going to be going. And I think that it's a really good tool for us to use to be able to learn the correct body position, the correct inputs to accomplish what we need in the most efficient manner, everything like that, and to be able to put it to use at what is a quicker pace than what we're going to be asking for initially in eight-way, and then when that stuff becomes second nature, then we'll be able to turn up the speed.
So did you have like tough cases like me changing from the box to a mantis, those kind of things? Did you have that actually to work on?
Yeah, I think
basic changes of body positions.
Yeah, there's traditionally our teams have been a little more faster fall rate, arching more, very pitchy, stuff like that. So we're trying to approach something that the high-level teams have been doing a little more of, is getting a longer body position, more buoyant, and being ready to move a little quicker. So we're trying to incorporate that into the body position that we're doing. So there's a lot of it for four-way, and we have to adapt it to eight-way in a way that makes sense for eight-way. Being a bigger formation, it's not a direct plug into eight-way, but I think the skills that we're gaining are really going to help us in the long run.
So individual skills training, and then you're breaking the eight-way up into four-way teams or in rotations, or how do you do that practically?
So the eight-way team has traditionally had two four-way teams. When we decided to train four-way, we call them the gold team and the black team. So what we decided was to bring back Golden Knights Gold, which is our higher level four-way team, the team that has podium aspirations and can represent the United States delegation.
Who is that now in this?
So it's the three of us here with our eight-way point flyer, Nick Grimm. That's the new Golden Knights Gold lineup. So that's the lineup you'll see at the Indoor National Championships in Rayford later this month. And then the black team is like a developmental team where they can learn the concepts of four-way and how we apply that into eight-way. One of the things that Jen and Jesse have been really good about, as well as the rest of the team, was not just the individual skill and not just the theory and the block technique, but really figuring out how we can be conceptually better competitors across the board. Better skydivers, better flight skills, but also more mentally tough and resilient. How to become better athletes in better shape, and how we can train non-skydiving to keep our minds and bodies flexible and pliable. So that when it's time to jump, we have that much more.
So you got some input and some feedback, and this all kind of new idea, if you say so, was triggered somehow at some point. Do you remember was there kind of a key event or a key time, or where you said, okay, let's change things now?
I think it was really last year. We had a new team, and we came up against a lot of, we had a lineup change almost every month, and every kind of lineup change shifted the perspective of the team. So when it got to nationals, as we neared nationals, we started thinking that even though this is a new team, like we put Jesse back in, we put Sean back in, like Matt was around, so we started thinking that there is a shot for us to win at nationals and go to the world meet. So we weren't laying the foundation as well as we could have, because we were just trying to do what we could to get there. So now that we're not going to the world meet this year, it gives us a lot more time to really take the time with these new guys and lay a really good foundation. So once we figured that out, we sat down and tried to figure what that meant. What do we need to be good competitors? What do we need to be the best team? And so we really have the opportunity to take that time and really lay the right groundwork. So that's what we're trying to do.
So it's basically, there was some discussions with others, like in China. I heard talk to Gary a little bit, and here you talk to Rhythm a little bit, and all that. So the idea of picking external information or ideas came up at some point too, right? So, and then you just collected all this, and then you sat down with the Golden Knights and said, okay, let's try to apply as much of that as possible. Is that how it came together?
Absolutely, yeah. Actually, a conversation comes to mind with Gary in China, and he didn't laugh at us, but he kind of did when we asked, well, what do you think of our training plan? We laid it all on the table, and we said, this is what we are. Be the king for the day and make it what you think it should be. And he said, absolutely, I wouldn't train 4 weeks out of the month. He said, I think that's too much mentally, physically. You're overexerting yourself. It's a marathon constantly. No sprint is really provided a chance, interval training, so to speak. So that was one of the main conversations that we at least took from an external source pretty early on right after nationals. And we value, Gary's opinion highly. And we talked to obviously Davidson as well, that they were there. And just from an athletic point of view, like to talk to an athlete and say, well, how does it work for you? They have a very similar program where, they are in the military, but they've been together for so long, and that has ties with our old lineup. They were together for so long, and we said, okay, well, that's one way we can do it, but it takes a decade. How do we expedite this? So that was kind of some of the challenges we were giving to Gary, but we've involved many voices into that conversation, kind of picking and choosing what we can do, what we can make happen, and also what we feel will benefit the newer teammates, and just finding the right fit for us as a whole.
Yeah, I think just as important in our process as we work to kind of rediscover who the Golden Knights are was we took a lot of the training points of performance and things like that, but we also sat down as a team, all 9 of us. We sat down in a room for a couple of days and said, hey, who do we want to be as competitors? Who do we want to be as teammates? Who do we want to be as soldiers? What do we want this team to become long term? Because we want to rebuild something that's going to outlive most of us. Something that's going to be the next 10-year team down the road. The team that keeps plugging away after we're gone and we've passed the reins off. So I think a lot of it too was once, like Jen said, we had a lot of lineup changes, but once we solidified the lineup at the end of last year, we all sat down together and said, this is the lineup, who do we want to be, and how do we get there from here, from this moment on. And it was really well received. It was a great conversation, and we learned a lot about each other, and a lot about the direction that we want to go as well.
Boot camp. You did a mental boot camp.
We did a mental boot camp. Yeah, we left no stone unturned.
Well, that's great. And if you look back now, you have seen 3 different generations of Golden Knights now, I believe, right? With 3 different team captains and leaderships. If you go back, and can you already feel like it's a different approach?
I think every lineup is different. Even from the lineups I was on from, even adding one person. It's a new team, it's a new dynamic. We feed off each other a little bit differently. I'm really proud to be a member of this particular lineup. We have 9 soldiers who are really invested in the process, and they're invested in each other. We lift each other up. So it's a privilege to be a part of this new lineup.
And Jesse, you're bringing probably additional experiences from the dark side into the. Sorry,
You just say that.
No, you just know it.
So we all know that you have done other things too, which is of course great, because there are different experiences, of course, and skills. Is there anything that is beneficial too that you bring in from different way of flying, different style? We all know that Jesse was in the VFS team, right, for a few years with the Golden Knights, and I'm sure we can learn a lot from their skills too.
Yeah, it's been interesting to have conversations, especially with Jen, with all the four-way experience and relating VFS to FS, and when it comes to engineering and problem solving and how you can get out of memory. And I think Core has been great standardizing the dipole in VFS, but I mean, it just became a 10-round event a few years ago, so it's very new, and it's in infancy. So it's interesting to see. It's a pleasure anytime you're part of that, right? Because you can engineer and kind of create that baseline for all the other teams, and I think Core is doing exactly that. But skill set wise, I mean, it's interesting because I brought over a teammate of mine, Reese Pendleton, came over, and it's been really interesting to, from an external point of view, to see his development in FS, because he went from free flying to straight FS, whereas BK, I was fortunate enough, pulled me over in 2012. And I got to learn FS, prior to that VFS experience. So, I got a really strong baseline from the lineage of Kurt Eisenberger and Matt Davidson and BK, and I was so fortunate for that. But it's just, I don't know, it's a different animal. I think it helps out the door, and that's one of the reasons why we've switched Reese, to a slot that has him diving out of the plane, and there's a lot of dynamic moves on the outside, so we're hoping that will play a part, taking that into account. But, honestly, at the end of the day, what it gave me is just more competition experience at a four-way pace.
And are we getting a little insights and tips and things from? There's Gary Smith. We just talked about it. Are we getting some input from Matt Davidson too?
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah, he's always looking to help out wherever he can. He misses being part of the team.
But he's your opponent now, right?
Yeah, but I mean, at the top of the sport, everything is open source. Like everybody they share all the knowledge that they have, because at the end of the day, I think any competitor worth their salt wants to beat all the other teams when they're at their best, when all the information is out there, then so that it can be a real competition.
Nothing to hide. How is it practically? So a training day begins after stretching, warming up, and all that kind of stuff. It begins with 2 jumps one-on-one, two-way skills, and then 4 jumps four-way, and then 4 jumps 8-way. How do you structure the whole?
And then 2 jumps VFS.
Yeah, I forgot. No accuracy, please. No, we have to be careful with that. We have
only for SISM.
That's right. So, when we talked about the team coming together and talking about buying for the new program, one of the things we did was divvy up jobs. And Jen and Jesse took on the reins of, we call them training and operations. So they really kind of set how we train and what we do. So like I mentioned earlier today, like these guys are the architects of how we're going to get from, today, training camp 1, 40 jumps in to hopefully at the end of this road, 2022 World Meet goal. So they've got a very
the long term.
They're taking a very meticulous approach to it. So I don't want to steal their thunder, but they're putting a lot of time and energy into the how we train.
Yeah, so we talked about it. Jen was an in-gen. We took a few different examples and models to this, but we looked at, in the past, like when she came over, it took her less than a year. It took her a few months to be better than what I was when I was in that slot. And Larry, who had all the experience, I mean, she caught up so quickly that we could relate it back to the examples we had, and we said, well, shoot, that doesn't take her very long at all. I think Chris is a great example on the current XP team. He got put in that outside rear job, and he had a 4-way background, and he did a great job doing it. So we took, this successes of these cases, and we said, well, there's got to be something to that. So when we break up 4-way to 8-way, we want to be sure that the 8-way is the priority, and that it feeds into it. So when it comes to breaking up the schedule, 8-way is obviously priority, so we'll do more of it. Let's just say 60 to 80% of the year will be focused on 8-way. But the natural pauses in our training, so it's just not 8-way Monday through Friday, to keep people moving faster than the natural pace of 8-way, and also to develop better skills. We will mix in 4-way. So it's kind of organic the way it's been going. You know, we've had 2 weeks of just 4-way concentrated, body flight focused with Sully. But then we see opportunities for like the indoor meet that's coming up, and we're like, let's do some 4-way, and you know, kind of reinstitutionalize the Gold Knights back into 4-way. We kind of got away from it a little bit for a lot of years actually, and we lost continuity with the updated, you know, versions of blocks and such. Like, we lost that information. We don't really want that to happen again. So we realized we have to take a step back and say, okay, well, we need to make time for both. So yeah, so the indoor meet we plan on doing 4-way, and then SISM is a responsibility that we come down on annually.
Shamrock is only 8-way? Well, you do 4-way, obviously.
Shamrock's only 8-way for the Gold Knights.
You can do only one. Well, you could do 8-way, then 8-way, 4-way with the Gold Knights, and 4-way with the rhythm. You can do that. The Shamrock. You talk to the meter right Fine with me.
He would not be too happy.
Long day. Long day. 30 competition rounds in a weekend.
Nick, it's a big job for Nick, right? I mean, he's jumping at 3 world champions and, you know, highly experienced 4-way competitors. And how do you bring it? I mean, how you see, he must be extremely talented, motivated, strong. That's a big job for him, right?
Yeah, it's definitely. I think that Nick is up for the challenge. So he does a lot of coaching. Like, he's involved in the sport outside of the Golden Knights. I think that's really helpful. And he.
What is he doing outside sports?
His wife jumps as well, so he coaches her team quite a bit. I think he's involved in the clubbing stuff.
Okay.
So he's doing some of that, and so I think that's really helpful for him. But yeah, I think he's a quick learner, and he's up for the challenge.
Wow, that's I would like that slot with the 3 of you.
It's a double challenge because Jen and I seem to be 4-way peace partners all the time. But this year we moved to the back from the front. So
okay, but peace partners still.
Still peace partners, but now Jen gets to rock and roll in the inside center slot.
Yeah, I'm in a new slot this year, so that's been a lot of fun to learn. Really learn the nuances of a new slot. So.
And I don't want to drag it out too long, but we had a very interesting conversation earlier before about engineering. You know, that you haven't arrived yet, you know, at the engineering that you will probably apply in the long term, or how is that going? There was a conversation today at the end about engineering for tomorrow, whatever it was, and we came into that conversation about engineering, low level, mid level, high level engineering. Can you explain that for the audience and for me again, for somehow?
I think in the past we had so much experience on the 8-way team that we already knew everything. We knew how to do everything and how every block was supposed to go. We had that continuity. Now that we have a lot of new guys on the team, we're trying to take a more open-minded approach, really break things down and figure out how we want angles, how we want the start and the finish and stuff like that. And then the instead of just trying to make it happen, we're trying to break things down into the nuances of each move and how the blocks how the pieces need to turn. And so it seems to be really paying off, but I think it's having the fresh look at it with all the new guys has been really, really helpful, and that's been really interesting to see how kind of our continuity has evolved with that fresh look.
Sounds to me almost like 8-way is becoming now as sophisticated or scientific or whatever you would call it as 4-way has become in the past years. You know, it has evolved into, I mean, it's highly sophisticated, I would say, you know, the way they are engineering and looking at options, still just to gain a tenth of a second here or there. It's pretty amazing, and 8-way is going similar direction then, as it sounds to me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, with the resurgence in 8-way, like we talked a little bit about last week, with the resurgence of so many top-level teams right now, I mean, it has to be. If you want to be competitive, you really have to break things down and get into the fine details of how to go faster. It's not just the U.S. and France and Russia anymore. Qatar's a strong player, and there's a couple strong U.S. teams, and there's a lot more top-level 8-way teams. So if you want to win World Championship gold, you've got to be all in.
So we are not joking about 25 average or anything like that.
I think the evolution of 8-way is inevitable. If you look at 4-way, there was one point in time when a 25 seemed unreachable in 4-way, and you look at Hayabusa doing knocking on the door of 29 now, and so I think it's inevitable that 8-way would go the same road. It's definitely trickier with 8 people, but it's certainly got room to get higher level.
There must, because that Hayabusa example is a great example. I mean, who would have thought that 30 average would even be possible at all in any way? So it keeps going, and it sounds to me like you're beginning to push 8-way in a little bit different direction as well.
Yeah, I think that's been a lot of kind of what we, especially when we started the year with a centric view. I think it opened up our eyes a lot to how can we make 8-way like 4-way. What are some lessons we can learn from 4-way to carry the speed over into 8-way. And while not everything is applicable, I think we're learning quickly what is and what isn't, and how to train.
Now you're though in big trouble though, because now we will all be expecting a 25 average in 8-way.
Long term. So I mean, we're building everything towards that goal.
Just kidding. I'm always just kidding anyway. Well, I don't know.
I'm gonna do 25.
No, I mean 25 is obviously with the skills these days, and the development, and how you're dissecting that now and becoming so scientific about this. It will happen eventually, and I'm sure also the competition is right now is pushing. We have never had so many 8-way teams so close to each other. I don't recall that there were 3, 4 8-way teams in the world all pushing each other on the same level. I mean, that will eventually bring the progression in scoring. I just posted a story yesterday about the Czech 8-way team. So the 8-way is booming. So it's a good time.
I just want to add to that. I think it's interesting to look at the parallels with also 8-way teams that train heavily in the wind tunnel and how that affects their jumps in the sky, keeping things small. That was one of the points that made me think of it. In 2015 World Air Games, there's not a lot of 8-way events for indoor meets, unfortunately. But preparing for that meet, it really forced us to re-engineer at a fast pace. How do we make this work? And XP8 is a great example of that. They do a lot of their training in the tunnel, and they do keep things nice and small and efficient and such. And I know Belgium's the same. So I think maybe there might be a parallel at some point with these 8-way teams across the world with a 16-foot tunnel available, or 32 if you happen to have one.
There's one, isn't it? There's one in Abu Dhabi or so.
Something like that. Yeah.
Talk about that recently. Yeah, 8-way, the 8-way indoor stuff. And Perry, we have to give Paraclete a lot of credit for that. They started the 8-way indoor stuff more or less. Martial Ferré, part of that, and BK and Kirk. So it's moved it up in a direction there. Well, I think I've more than exhausted my time with you. Everybody's probably hungry, thirsty after long training day. And you're having a training tomorrow again. I would just say thank you very much. That was very, very interesting, and good luck with all that. And we'll see you soon again in Skydiving City for the 8-way competition with all those teams.
Well, thank you for having us. It's always a pleasure to talk to us.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys.